So, hello and welcome to today's video on Hurricane Linda. Real quick, let's get right to the details on Linda. Linda's, according to National Hurricane Center this weekend, some I don't necessarily agree with their assessments, but the latest intensity estimate from the National Hurricane Center is down to 95 knots or 110 miles per hour. Minimum central pressure is 969 millibars. It's located at 18.8 N. 121.2 W, so it's pretty high up in latitude. It's moving west at around 10 knots, 12 miles per hour. You can just see the system kind of has maintained its impressive look from yesterday. You can see the system starting to make its kind of anticipated that I talked about in the previous videos, taking a southward dive. I mean, the eventually is still forecasted for a national hurricane to make this turn back to the northwest. And dissipate over cool waters before we get, and probably before adequate curvature occurs, and probably eventually get caught up in the westerlies and primarily with the frontal zone. A frontal zone that'll eventually that'll eventually probably become part of an ordinary cold front that eventually sweeps across the United States. But that's probably not till about 1 or 2 weeks away. You can see the favorable setup here. You can see this. The highly divergent environments can help the system spawn its own up-level anticyclone, and provide some system basically in a zero shear environment. And the system is likely to remain in such environment over the next several days. You can see. I think this is picture slightly out of date here. But you can see this is basically a pretty classic annual hurricane, much like Hurricane Felicia last month, and much like quite a few hurricanes from 2018. But I will say notice the system also has a much larger eye than it did yesterday, and that's because it underwent an eyeball replacement cycle. You can sort of see the structure from earlier this morning. You can see the concentric eyeball replacement cycle that finished up around 8Z or so this morning, maybe a little later. And as a result, thunderstorm activity began to recool around its eye. Thunderstorm activity began to recool around the eye. And thunderstorm activity began to recool around its eye, and the system does however, the system does not have a full-on black rain yet. It might redevelop a black rain relatively soon, just because it's hurricanes at night, and these sort of eastern Pacific hurricanes tend to intensify at night, at least in this area of the world. I think it has to do with the relatively shallow waters that the storms and similar storms are over. Well, you can see it on visible. You can see a water vapor. Oh wow, it's really neat. I forgot this site had that imagery. I'll show you the water vapor loop here. I'll try and show a bunch of things. You can see the potent hurricane evolving. You can see the potent hurricane evolving and keeping out some of the more stable areas to its north and west, keeping it out just based on its basically bandless structure that the storm has. The system is likely to off. Seashore temperatures are pretty marginal overall. And boom. Seashore temperatures are pretty marginal. Looking at coral reef watch. Looking at coral reef. Seashore temperatures from at least coral reef watch have the system generally keep the system near, basically paralleling the 2060 isotherm over the next few days. For about 3 days, and eventually moving colder water as it moves, as I mentioned earlier, it'll return to the north. The system is believed technically under below 26C waters right now, but we'll probably move into an area of about 26 to 27C waters in a day or so, and we could probably definitely see a round of intensification, if not tonight, into tomorrow night. And then I think afterwards, as I said, things will probably gradually wind down. The latest ADT estimates have been kind of low due to the storm's large eye, but it's basically been pretty stable. And the eye itself is pretty warm at 13.3. at 13.3, and I think, structurally, these annual hurricanes are very stable. And like this won't change, but the only thing that will change is in terms of overall structure. What will change is the satellite intensity estimates, just because the satellite intensity estimates for hurricanes are based on eye warmth and convective activity, and that will fluctuate throughout the course of the day. As due to diurnal cycles. Due to diurnal cycles that will fluctuate throughout the day. And I think as a result, like to see at least the official intensity estimates from the National Hurricane Center fluctuate a bit. I will note that the current National Hurricane Center intensity estimate is not really one I'm a particular fan of 95 knots, given that SAB is at T5.5, and given the fact that on a previous advisory, despite the improved satellite signature, the National Hurricane Center went 100 knots. The National Hurricane Center has basically said in its advisory header that the system is gradually weakening, but it's really not really showing any signs of actual weakening. Just some cloud, especially structurally. We may see it as a and I don't think we'll really start to see serious weakening until the sea surface temperatures get to the point where an eye can no longer really sustain itself. Or at least the cloud top temperatures actually start markedly cooling. That probably won't happen until about the 24 to 25 C isotherm rather than 25 to 26 C isotherm. Just judging on how similar hurricanes have behaved. Anyhow, that's it for today's video. I want to mention one more thing. Is that there's some support you can see for another traditional tropical cyclone activity, as we are eventually supposed to have another period of rising motion again over the basin. This is the 10-day European. The GFS, some GFS runs have been picking up on this area of disturbed weather located south of the Gulf of Tonga. That might try and develop something. A few GFS ones have picked up on it, but the system's in a high shear zone, so I'm not particularly, again, largely displaced anticyclones from in the Gulf of Mexico that could fuel what's technically still a tropical cyclone in the Caribbean, as well as the upper levels anticyclone that's contributing to the high intensity of Hurricane Linda. Those two factors are likely to keep any additional activity that tries to form off the south coast of Mexico in check. Anyhow, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys learned something.